Every night in Toronto, an average of 187 people seeking warmth and safety are turned away from the shelter system, left on the cold street. It's raising renewed concerns about how the city plans to help its most vulnerable residents trying to survive the winter outdoors. Yellow caution tape blocks off this portion under the Gardiner Expressway after a fire broke out late last night, sending one man to hospital with critical injuries. Officials say a single tent was found in the same area. It's unclear how the fire started or if the tent was involved in any way, but the scene illustrates looming fears ahead of the coldest weather.
We personally see people every day in our emergency department and in our hospital wards who are homeless and for whom we can't find a shelter bed for.
Dr. Stephen Huang says a rising number of people are turning up at the already overcrowded emergency department at St. Michael's Hospital, not because they have a medical problem, but simply because they need a place to get out of the cold. He says social workers will spend hours calling for shelter beds, but very few leave the ER with somewhere to go.
I'm afraid we're going to see people dying from hypothermia, literally freezing to death on the street.
According to the city, the shelter system is currently accommodating approximately 8,200 people nightly, more people than it ever has, and 1,600 more people a night than this time last year.
Give us an answer.
At the same time, the city is closing temporary shelter sites opened during the pandemic. As Huang points out, people are in encampments because there is not enough safe shelter space for them. While the city says outreach staff hand out blankets, sleeping bags, and warm clothing in the wintertime, people are not offered safer alternatives to propane heat, raising the risk of frostbite or the danger of fire. Last month, propane tanks left in an empty encampment under the Bathurst Street Bridge exploded. City data shows just over 3,400 people have been found permanent housing out of shelters between January and October this year. But it hasn't been enough to meet demand. During the same period, more than 7,800 people entered the shelter system for the first time.
Encampments are clearly not the answer, and no one wants to see people in encampments. They're not safe or a preferred place for people to stay, but we've literally created a situation where people have no other choice.
For City News, I'm Caryn Ceolin.